Hi guys, I'm Michelle from Full Motion Bodyworks, and I'm going to take you through a 30-minute full body stretch that is also pregnancy friendly. So things to have handy: if you've got a yoga strap or even just a scarf or a belt, if you're pregnant, that will be a very useful tool for you as we go. I have a yoga block here and a bolster, but a couple of pillows to stack up. Again, that's more for modifications. That would be quite handy to have as well. Otherwise, you've got everything you need right here. So let's get started. You're gonna start seated, legs crossed if that's comfortable for you. We're gonna start with just some deep core breath work. So great, especially if you are pregnant, and very beneficial even if you're not. So I want you guys to start by taking a deep breath in, so you can close your eyes if you like, and place your hand on your stomach. And I want you, as you take a deep breath in, I want you to feel that hand expand out. So you're not breathing from the neck, you're breathing from the belly. Okay, deep breath in, and then let it out. Now this time, we're going to try and expand the pelvic floor on that outward breath. So if you have a hard time picturing that or feeling it, you can roll up a small towel, place it underneath your pelvic floor, or even if you've got an exercise ball, that works great too. You can even just sit up higher on a chair. But for now, I want you to imagine your pelvic floor opening like a jellyfish, kind of, if that visual works for you, as you take that deep breath in. So the stomach is expanding, the pelvic floor is dropping. And when you exhale, I want you to imagine that jellyfish sucking up, and I want you to pull that belly button in towards the spine at the same time. So up and in. Okay, so we're gonna take a nice deep breath and expand that pelvic floor. Breathe out, pull up and in. Nice, and then relax. So as you pull up and in, I want you to imagine like almost hugging your baby with your belly. Okay, so pulling that belly button in towards the spine as you are pulling up gently on that pelvic floor. So we're gonna do that one more time. Nice deep breath in, expand the pelvic floor, breathe through the belly. Exhale, pull up on that pelvic floor, into the belly. Nice job, good. So we're gonna leave it there for now. That's something to come back to and practice as much as you can, especially getting that core to function with your pelvic floor and the breath. Super important, especially to prevent pelvic floor dysfunction. So we're gonna go ahead and move on and get started with neck work. Go ahead and tuck your chin down towards your chest. We're gonna start with just some nice neck circles, nice and slow. So roll the ear to the shoulder. Gently let your head come back without dropping it into hyperextension. Ear to the other shoulder and back down. So one more nice big circle in this direction, nice and slow. Go at your own pace. You don't have to keep time with me. Good, we're gonna switch directions with your circles. Nice and easy, nice and slow. Work out all of the kinks. Last one here. Take your time. Good. When you come back to where we started, you're just gonna let your head float back up to neutral. We're gonna work on the anterior neck. So I'm gonna have you take your hands, place them on top of your collarbone here, and then just drop the elbows to gently pin that collarbone down. Now I want you to picture your chin like a kite, and you're just gonna fly your kite gently up towards the ceiling. Again, not dropping your head back into hyperextension. And once you're there, I want you to make little rainbow arcs with that chin. Nice and slow, going in every direction. Beautiful. Our anterior neck typically gets forgotten about, and these muscles tend to get really short because of forward posture. So sitting at a desk all day, driving, whatever. muscles typically get shortened and stay in that contracted state, so stretching them out is super important. If you have any jaw issues like TMJ or clicking jaw, feel free to open and close your mouth as you do these little arcs, like you're taking a bite of an apple, kind of in every direction, to get some freedom in that jaw. Do a couple more. Good, and then when you're ready to come back down, you're just gonna let your chin float down the same way it came up, and you can just relax your hands. So pick a side to start with. We're gonna do both, doesn't matter which one. You're gonna pull your ear down towards your shoulder and just start to rock gently side to side. If the rocking bothers you, you can totally get rid of it, but it does help to calm your nervous system and down regulate. The neck is very neurological, so letting your neck know that this is safe and it's okay will definitely be helpful, especially if you've had whiplash or a concussion. It's very neurological, so safety and your neck feeling secure is important. So if that feels good to you and you want a little bit more, you can take your arm and add it gently on top of the head to increase the stretch. So make sure you're not pulling with this arm, it's just resting. So you should get a nice, lovely stretch here. And then you can go ahead and start to shift your chin down towards the floor. Just change the angle, should feel a little different here. And then up towards the ceiling and just kind of back and forth. If you want to get a little bit into the traps, you can take this hand and either sit on it or pull it back behind you and then just lean away. If that feels too intense, take that hand out. You don't want neck stretching to be painful because again, your neck is very neurological. If it's painful, your body will remember that and it will preemptively tense up the next time you try and work on it. So the gentler, the better. Just rock a little bit. You can shift the chin again and kind of just hang out where you feel it the most. If it's more when your chin is down, stay there. If it's more neutral, stay there. It's I like to go by intuition and intuitive movement. So my stretching will not look the same as yours, and that's totally fine. We'll do one more deep breath here. Good, and then just remove this arm from your head first and kind of float back through the center. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Ear to the shoulder, rock side to side as a little warm up. So if as we go you feel like one side is way tighter than the other, I would go back to the other side, the tighter side, and spend more time there. We don't have to stretch perfectly symmetrically, and we shouldn't, because if you have one side that's tighter than the other, that side probably needs more attention. Good, so go ahead, if you feel comfortable, add that arm in on top of the head. Again, make sure you're not pulling. This is just resting, adding a little bit of resistance. And then you can start to tilt that chin down towards the floor, up towards the ceiling. Just going kind of back and forth, hanging out wherever you feel you need it the most. And then again, if you want more upper trap, take this hand back behind you and then just lean away. If that's too intense, take the arm out. Again, you can rotate that chin back down if it feels better there. Go where it feels good. Wherever it feels good to you is where you're going to need it. Good. Take one more deep breath here. Good. Take this arm off of the head first, rotate back through the middle and back up. Last for the neck, we're going to go into the back of the neck. Even though most of us feel our problems here, they're caused by the front of the neck, which we've already worked on. So we're just gonna go really briefly through the back side. So I'm gonna have you take your hands back behind your head at the base of your skull, lift yourself up, so tractioning your own neck. Tuck the chin and gently pull the elbows in and start to just zigzag your way down to wherever you feel comfortable. If that's all the way to the floor, great. If that's only here, that's fine too. If you have disc issues like a bulging disc, I would recommend not going very far at all, because this will put a lot of stress on that disc and it will be very intense. So keep it at a level that's tolerable. And if you have a disc issue, keep it up here. Keep it nice and high. Don't feel like you need to go down so far. Good, and then when you're ready, take your hands off of your head first and then just float back up the way we came. Good. Do a little self check-in, turn side to side, see how your neck feels. Hopefully better than when you started. I had a little kink back here and it's kind of gone, so that's nice. We're gonna get into the shoulders next, so just bring your fingertips to the top of the shoulder. Doesn't matter which one, we're gonna do both. Rotate the elbow forward in a nice big circle. Do a couple here, and if that feels good to you, then we're gonna switch directions going back behind, getting all those little cracks and creaks out. And if that still feels good, open that arm all the way up and extend it. Make some nice big circles. If you want a little bit of T-spine mobility work, then you can turn with your arm, turn your chest with your arm to get a little bit of T-spine in there. If you want a deeper pec stretch just in your chest, keep your upper body facing forward and just let that arm float. You can do a mixture, you can do a little bit of both. If you need more stretch, extend those fingertips back behind you to get a little deeper in. Good, and then we're switching sides, same thing, fingertips here. Do some nice circles going forward first with the elbow, warming up this joint. And then reversing your circles here. Lots of popping on this shoulder for me. And again, if that's feeling good, extend that arm fully. Make some nice big sweeping circles. You can extend those fingertips back behind you if you need them. Good. We'll do one more nice big circle, maybe two. This side feels tighter to me. Perfect. I'm gonna have you take one hand down to the mat, reach the other arm up and over your head, look to the elbow. Get a nice side body stretch in, really important for pregnancy. And then you're just gonna windmill to the other side. Same thing, looking up to that elbow. Good, again, windmill over. This time you're gonna bend that top elbow, look up, deep breath. Good, windmill back over one more time. Good, lovely, back to the center. You're gonna go ahead and uncross your legs, bring your heels wherever it feels comfortable, hip width, shoulder width, wider if you need to, doesn't matter. Hands go behind you for support. You're gonna drop both knees to one side and then the other side. So we're just going back and forth to warm up, and take a couple notes. Notice if you can't drop both knees to one side or both sides. Your hips are a little bit tight, that's okay. We're gonna see if we can improve on that. Let's just go back and forth to start. Good, back up to the center. Drop both knees to one side and stay there. You can pull this top foot in to kind of rest on this thigh. Pull that heel in slightly. So you're gonna put one hand on each side. I'm gonna turn here so you guys can see. One hand on each side of that front knee. Make yourself nice and tall. So think about someone pulling a string through the top of your head. And then you're just gonna bend at the elbows and drop your chest gently, slightly over that front knee. Take a deep breath here. Tuck that chin, push through the arms into the ground, come back up like you're making a nice big wave, and then you're gonna dive back in. Go a little bit deeper this time if that feels good to you. Coming down, then tucking the chin, pushing more deep dive down. This time you're gonna stay there and you're gonna shift to look over one shoulder and then shift to look over the other. We're gonna do that one more time each direction. Shift to look over one shoulder and shift to look over the other. So you guys stay there. I'm gonna turn slightly here so that you guys can see a better angle for this next part. You're gonna come back to the center over that knee, push up. You're gonna walk both hands out and around over that front knee in a bit of a semicircle behind you, as far as you can comfortably go. So we're opening this deep front line. If you've got quite a belly on you for this third trimester, if you're in the third trimester, you can always take this hand out if it feels uncomfortable to try and twist over. But we're gonna start here, and I want you to take a nice deep breath, reach your chin up and over that back shoulder to really get into this deep front line. And then you're just kind of gonna come out of the stretch, putting pressure on your front hand, putting that tissue on slack. We're gonna do it one more time. You're gonna push up off that hand, look up and over the back shoulder with that chin, getting nice and deep in here. You might need to twist a little bit further back behind you if you don't feel anything. Good, and from here you're gonna drop that back elbow down to the floor. Make sure you're actively pushing that shoulder out of the floor. You're not sagging into the joint. You're gonna reach this arm all the way up to the ceiling. Drop it over your ear, reach, reach, reach out. Bring it down and around, up through the center, and repeat. So making a nice, big, active arm circle here, getting into the lats, as well as the hip flexors. One more time, nice big circle. Good. You're gonna push up off that backhand, walk yourself back to the front where we started. So I'll move back here. And then just retest the hips. So you should notice a fairly big difference on one side. It should feel way more free than the other. So we're just gonna switch sides. I'm gonna turn here, do the same thing on the opposite side. So knees drop the other direction this time. That foot comes into rest here, pull the heel in slightly. One hand on each side of that front knee. Make yourself nice and tall, and then just bend those elbows, dropping the chest over that knee a tiny bit till you feel a little pull in the glute. Then tuck your chin, push back up like you're making a wave, and then you're gonna dive a little deeper. This time, take a nice deep breath here, tuck the chin, push up. One more deep dive, and this time you're gonna stay down, and you're gonna look over one shoulder. Good, and then shift to look over the other. So just going back and forth a couple times here. Good. Nice job. Back to the center. Push up. You're gonna walk both hands out and around. A bit of a semicircle behind you. So again, getting into this deep front line here. Go as far as you need. You're gonna lift that chin up and over the shoulder. Looking back behind you, deep breath. Put that tissue on slack by dropping out of this hand. Now push up again, look over, deep breath here. Good, and then you're just gonna drop that back elbow down to the ground. Turn here so that you guys can kind of see a little bit better. Drop that back elbow down to the floor. Push up actively out of that shoulder joint. Reach this arm up to the ceiling. Bring it over the head, nice and slow. Fingertips touch the ground, up through the center, and repeat. 2 more big circles. Over the ear, fingertips go down and around, and back up. 1 more time. Big reach over, bring it down and around. You're gonna push back up and walk back to where we started in the center, right here. So recheck here. Notice if there's should be a pretty big difference, at least in how you feel, and hopefully your range of motion through those hips. So we're gonna work our way down to the floor. We're gonna start with a seated cat-cow. So take your hands underneath your knees here, just for support. You're gonna go ahead and let yourself fall back, tuck the chin, round that upper back. Take a deep breath in. When you breathe out, you're gonna push through the pelvis, open the chest, look up slightly. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. And as you inhale, you're just gonna fall back, round that upper back, tuck the chin. And as you exhale, push through that pelvis, open the chest, look up slightly. Good, and then you're just gonna let yourself float on down to the floor. If you're pregnant, it's not so much floating as dropping or rolling onto your side, as I'm gonna do. So go ahead and have your strap handy. So this is where if you are further along in your pregnancy and lying on your back is not really comfortable anymore, take your bolster or take a couple of pillows and just stack them up to give you a little bit of an incline. But we won't be here too long. So you're gonna come down onto your back. I'm gonna go this way so that you guys can see a little bit better. You're gonna take your knees in, gently give yourself a squeeze, rock side to side. Bring your feet down to the floor. Reach one leg up and over. So you've got a nice little figure 4 going here. So this is where, if you were pregnant, you can take your strap. If you're not pregnant, I highly encourage you not to use the strap and just make this bottom leg do all of the work. You get better leverage. But if you've got a growing belly, just stick this strap underneath that bottom leg, okay? So you're gonna lift that bottom leg up towards the ceiling and then in towards the chest, getting into the opposite glute. So if you're not feeling it in that glute, just move this foot until you feel it a little bit more. And then we're just gonna rock gently side to side. Make some nice circles if that feels good to you. Again, if you're further along, use that strap to hold your legs in place here. Lovely. Just rock side to side, letting those glutes relax. If you feel comfortable, you can tip that figure 4 all the way over and really let that hip open up. Take a couple nice deep breaths here. Good. Then you can go ahead and push back up, uncross, squeeze, and then we're switching sides. So bringing the other leg up and over into that nice figure 4, bringing that bottom leg up towards the ceiling, in towards the chest. Move this leg as you need to feel it in the glute, and then just rock side to side. You can make nice little circles if that feels good to you. So again, if you're further along, prop yourself up with a bolster or a couple pillows. Good. If you feel like you can, drop that figure 4 onto its side, bring that foot down to the floor. Let this hip just open up and take a couple of nice deep breaths here. Lovely, and then push back up. Give yourself a squeeze. Keep one knee in, straighten the other leg out. If you weren't using a strap before, grab onto it now and just slide it underneath that knee. To assist you, you're gonna bounce this foot a couple of times, and then you're gonna float that foot up towards the ceiling. So the goal here isn't full extension of the leg. I don't so much care about that and would actually prefer not to have you do it because sometimes we end up getting into the sciatic nerve. So a little bit of bend is good. And then you're just gonna make nice big circles with that leg. You can point and flex your foot if that feels good to you. And then you can let that leg float out to the side. Good. Bring it across the body. If you have sciatica, I would probably keep it more to the center and not so much going across. Point and flex here if that feels good. back to the center, do a couple more circles. I don't love to spend a lot of time on the hamstrings because we typically end up stretching and stretching and stretching them when really they're tight because our hip flexors are tight. So I'd rather have you spend your time stretching other areas, but I do think we need to touch on them, of course, and then bounce that foot, and we're just gonna switch legs. So that leg goes long, this one bends, pull it in, bounce that foot, and then float it up towards the ceiling. Make some nice big circles. Again, full extension of the leg is not necessary. That a lot of times will get you into the sciatic nerve, so it's okay to have some bend in there for now, for the purposes of this video. You can let that leg float out to the side. Bring it up, let it float across your body if that feels good. If you have sciatica or if you get numb and tingly here, bring it more to the center. Good, one more big circle around. And then just bounce that foot back down. You can lose the strap and you're just gonna roll onto your side, pregnant belly roll. And grab onto a pillow or whatever you've got handy. I always like to use a yoga block because it fits nicely under my head. So just use it as a little bit of support for your head. You're gonna start by pulling, stacking your arms straight out from your body, stacking your hips. You're gonna start by pulling the top arm across the bottom arm, across your chest, opening to the floor behind you. Circling that hand down towards your feet, then back to where you started. We're going to do that one more time. Peel across to the floor, sweep that arm down, back to where we started. Now you're going to take that top hand, you're going to drag those fingertips nice and slow across the floor, over your head and around your body. Trying to keep those fingertips touching the floor the entire time if possible. If you're really tight, they're going to come up and that's okay. You don't need to force them down. You're just gonna work your way down to the floor. So again, nice big circle, dragging those fingertips, going nice and slow. Good. We're gonna do one more circle and then we're gonna switch shoulders. This is a piece of mobility that I will often give as homework to my clients because it is simple and super effective. If you go nice and slow and just do even 5 big circles, you should notice quite a big difference in your range of motion by the end, or it should at least feel easier. We're gonna do the same thing on the other shoulder. So if you have a shoulder that has some issues, that is more problematic than the other, I would recommend staying on that shoulder and doing extra work there. So again, we're gonna start by just peeling across over the chest, hands to the floor, sweep down, back around, and again, peeling across, sweeping those fingertips down towards the floor or feet. And now you're going to start making those big circles. So dragging the fingertips around your head, around your whole body. Nice and slow. Trying to get as much range of motion as you possibly can. So again, nice big circle, go at your own pace. Don't feel the need to rush. You can always pause this video and work on these moves a little bit longer if you need to. Good, one more time. Circle around. Lovely job. Should feel a little bit more free at least. Good. And you're just gonna push up onto your hands and knees. You can move that out of the way for now. Last couple of moves here. We're gonna touch very briefly on the hip flexors again. We've already kind of done it in the move that we did earlier. And I like to do a lot of gentle hip flexor work, especially when you're pregnant. So we're gonna start on hands and knees, and you're just gonna drop your hip forward. So I'm showing you from the side, I'll show you from the front here. Bring it back up, drop to the other side. So make sure that you're not sagging your hips. Your hips are actually staying high for this. So you're just here, drop one hip, take a nice deep breath. You should get a nice, subtle, simple hip flexor stretch here. Good, going just back and forth, up and to the side, dropping that hip down, leaning into it. Nice, subtle, gentle hip flexor stretch. Especially if you're further along in your pregnancy, it's better to go gentle. You're going to, I'll turn here. We're gonna hop into a very non-technical down dog for the sake of this video. This isn't yoga, so don't feel like you have to be perfect with your down dog. We're just trying to get into the lower leg. So you're gonna flip your toes, push up and back. So staying active out of the shoulders. Again, you don't wanna be sagging. So push out of the shoulders and then just pedal it out. Bend one knee, straighten the other leg, go back and forth. You can bring both heels to one side and the other side. Again, if you're further along in your pregnancy, you can always prop yourself up and do this standing, first of all, against a wall or on a coffee table or the end of your couch so that you're not so deeply inverted. It might be more comfortable. And you can always drop down, take a break, come back up. This isn't yoga. You don't need to hold this continuously. If you want more of an Achilles stretch, you can bend both knees, shift back into those heels, bend and straighten from there, whatever feels good. Most of us need a lot of work here, and we don't get nearly enough. Good, we'll do one more deep breath here. And then you're gonna drop down to your knees, and we're gonna finish with a little puppy pose. So you're just gonna walk your hands out as far as you comfortably can, drop that chest in towards the floor, and let your head rest. Let those shoulders relax. Take some nice deep breaths. When you're ready, walk it back up. And that is a 35-minute full body stretch, working everything head to toe, including some belly breathing at the beginning for my pregnant friends out there. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you check out some of my other videos.